Fame can take you to heights beyond imagination, but when belief is lost, it can leave you completely untethered. In today's video, we take a raw and unfiltered look at 17 black actors who once ruled Hollywood, praised for their talent, power, and limitless promise, only to see their careers slowly slip away. Whether it was personal battles, crushing industry pressure, betrayal, or a deep loss of faith in themselves or the system, each story reveals the hidden price of stardom. This isn't about blame or judgment. It's about understanding how hope erodes, how dreams quietly fracture, and how even the brightest stars can fall when belief is gone. Wesley Snipes never wanted to be boxed in as just another martial arts action star. He believed there was more to him, more depth, more purpose. And for a time, the world agreed. In the 1990s, Wesley Snipes was untouchable. He dominated the box office with hits like Blade, Passenger 57, and Demolition Man. Charismatic, intense, and unstoppable, it seemed like he could do no wrong. He was on top of Hollywood. But behind the scenes, his life was beginning to shift in a much darker, stranger direction. Wesley became involved with a controversial spiritual movement known as the Nubian Nation, a group that blended ancient Egyptian ideology with radical teachings. Critics didn't see it as a religion, but as something far more extreme. While Wesley never publicly revealed how deeply he was involved, multiple reports tied him closely to the group's leader and belief system. In an industry that avoids controversy at all costs, this association raised serious red flags. Hollywood didn't cut him off overnight, but doors quietly began to close. Projects stalled. Trust faded. And then came the moment that changed everything. Wesley Snipes stopped paying federal taxes, claiming they were illegal. That argument didn't go far with the US government. After a lengthy legal battle, he was convicted of tax evasion and sentenced to 3 years in federal prison. During that time, Wesley vanished from the spotlight. The man who once ruled the action genre became a cautionary tale. When he was released and attempted a comeback, the landscape had changed. Hollywood had moved on. He landed a few supporting roles, including The Expendables 3, but the leading man era was over. The fame, the power, the dominance, it never fully returned. Wesley Snipes' story is a powerful reminder of how quickly superstardom can fade when personal choices collide with public scrutiny. Lauryn Hill. Just hearing her name once meant brilliance, truth, and timeless talent. She was one of the most beloved artists on the planet, a voice that felt both revolutionary and deeply personal. The miseducation of Lauryn Hill wasn't just an album, it was a cultural moment. It dominated the charts, swept awards, and convinced the world that Lauryn Hill was destined to be a legend forever. But then, something shifted. At the height of her success, Lauryn began pulling away from the spotlight. She experienced what she described as a spiritual awakening, one that led her to question everything she once believed in, especially the music industry and organized religion. To her, the industry felt fake, controlling, and spiritually toxic. And rather than compromise who she was becoming, she chose to walk away. She started speaking more openly about spirituality, injustice, and living in truth. But to many fans, her actions became increasingly confusing. Lauryn began missing shows, arriving hours late, cutting performances short, or canceling altogether with no explanation. The same woman who once inspired millions now left audiences feeling disappointed and unsure. Rumors started swirling. Some believed she was lost. Others suspected mental health struggles. But Lauryn never clearly explained what was really happening. Her behavior felt unpredictable, and slowly her public image began to shift, from misunderstood genius to unreliable artist. Then came the final blow. Lauryn Hill was sentenced to prison for failing to pay her taxes. In a moment that shocked the world, a woman who once stood as a symbol of truth, consciousness, and power was suddenly facing serious legal consequences. When she was released, she tried to return to performing, but the same problems followed her. Delays, cancellations, controversy. The magic was still there, but so was the chaos. Lauryn Hill's story isn't just about fame, it's about the cost of it, the struggle between truth and expectation, and what happens when an artist refuses to bend, even if it means losing everything. Terrence Howard once said that 1 times 1 equals 1 is an unbalanced equation. To him, it wasn't just math, it was a symbol of oppression, something he even compared to the Jim Crow laws of the 1960s. There was a time when Terrence Howard was one of the most powerful names in Hollywood. He starred in blockbuster films like Iron Man, delivered a career-defining performance in Hustle and Flow, and became a household name through the smash TV series Empire. His talent was undeniable, earning him critical praise and major award nominations. But over time, something shifted. Not just in his career, but in the way he spoke, the way he thought, and what he claimed to believe. Terrence began openly rejecting traditional science and organized religion. Instead, he introduced the world to his own radical ideas about mathematics, the universe, and the nature of reality itself. At the center of it all was a concept he called terology, what he claimed was a revolutionary system that could rewrite everything we know about math and physics. According to Howard, 1 times 1 doesn't equal 1, it equals 2. He spoke passionately about sacred geometry and the flower of life, a symbol long associated with mysticism and spiritual awakening. In his mind, he hadn't lost his way. He had discovered a hidden truth the rest of the world was too blind to see. But the world didn't see it that way. Scientists and mathematicians dismissed his theories as nonsensical. Hollywood executives grew uncomfortable. And as his interviews became stranger and more confusing, Terrence Howard's reputation began to shift. Slowly, the major roles disappeared. While he remained on Empire, his public image had already changed. No longer just an acclaimed actor, Terrence Howard was now viewed as a man spiraling away from reality, better known for controversial beliefs than for the talent that once made him a star. "This has to be God's country," he once said, staring at a sunrise so beautiful it felt unreal. "Because I'd never seen anything like that." And then he added quietly, "That's where I met the devil." DMX was one of the most intense and emotionally raw rappers the world has ever known. His voice sounded like pain itself, unpolished, desperate, and brutally honest. Every lyric felt lived in, torn straight from his soul. But what truly set him apart was his unshakable relationship with God. Even in his darkest records, you'd hear prayers, Bible verses, and deep reflections on faith woven between the rage and the suffering. It was clear he was constantly at war with himself, struggling to do right while being dragged back by his past. This wasn't an image or a performance. DMX genuinely believed. He would stop concerts mid-show to pray. In interviews, he spoke openly about Jesus, redemption, and his desire to be a better man. Fans connected to him because of that honesty. He never pretended to be perfect. He was just trying to survive, and brave enough to admit how hard that fight really was. At the same time, his battle with addiction was relentless. It began in his teenage years and followed him for decades. He'd get clean, find hope, and then fall again, over and over. Legal troubles piled up: arrests, court dates, weapons, drugs. Every time it seemed like he was finally turning a corner, something would pull him back into the darkness. In 2021, DMX died from a drug overdose. The news shattered fans around the world. Not just because a legendary rapper was gone, but because it felt like someone who spent his entire life trying to heal, to change, to be saved, never got the peace he was searching for. Orlando Brown. How is your mental health? For Orlando, that question has followed him for years. Once upon a time, Orlando Brown was a Disney Channel golden boy. Most people remember him as Eddie from That's So Raven. Funny, laid back, always quick with a joke. He had natural charm, perfect comedic timing, and all the signs of a long, successful career ahead of him. The future looked wide open. But when the cameras stopped rolling, everything began to unravel, fast. After the show ended, Orlando didn't disappear. He reappeared in headlines for all the wrong reasons. Instead of new acting roles, there were bizarre interviews and disturbing public appearances. He spoke in confusing circles, made shocking claims about famous celebrities, and often seemed disconnected from reality. Fans weren't laughing anymore, they were worried. People started asking a painful question: was Orlando okay mentally? At one point, he said he had found God. He talked about getting clean, going to rehab and turning his life around. For a brief moment, it felt like a redemption story in the making. Fans hoped this was the comeback they'd been waiting for. But hope didn't last long. Just as people began rooting for him again, Orlando slipped back into chaos. Erratic social media videos. Rambling interviews. More controversy. Then came the arrests, possession charges, domestic incidents, and repeated run-ins with the law. It felt like a heartbreaking cycle. Every time he seemed to take a step forward, something dragged him straight back into the darkness. And the question remained, what really happened to Orlando Brown, Stacey Dash? Yet, that's Stacey Dash. She once admitted she had never voted until Barack Obama. Her first vote. Her first mistake, according to her own words. Back in the day, Stacey Dash was a Hollywood darling. After her breakout role in Clueless, she was everywhere, stylish, confident, effortlessly cool. She had that undeniable screen presence that made it seem like a long, successful career was practically guaranteed. Movies, television, endorsements, the future looked wide open. But somewhere along the way, everything shifted, and not for the better. At first, Stacey spoke openly about her Christian faith, emphasizing morals, values, and personal responsibility. She came across as grounded, thoughtful, even admirable. But then came a sharp and unexpected turn. She dove headfirst into politics, becoming a loud and unapologetic voice on conservative platforms, most notably Fox News. That's when the backlash exploded. Her comments began to alienate the very audience that once supported her most. She criticized Black History Month, dismissed systemic issues affecting the Black community, and made statements that many felt were deeply hurtful. To longtime fans, it felt like betrayal, as if Stacey had turned her back on her roots and transformed into someone unrecognizable. The more she spoke, the harsher the reaction became. Controversy followed her everywhere. Eventually, even Fox News cut ties with her. And by then, the damage was already done. Stacey Dash was no longer known for her acting talent, but for her divisive opinions. Hollywood casting calls stopped coming. The spotlight faded, and a career that once held so much promise quietly slipped away. And if you think Stacey Dash's downfall was shocking, just wait until you see who completely lost control after finding God. Kanye West. The man who once asked the world, who does he think he is? And answered it himself, a god. That was Kanye. Fearless, provocative, and completely unfiltered. Now known as Ye, Kanye was never famous for acting. He was a cultural force, shaping music, fashion, and controversy all at once. And yet, his story belongs here because few public figures have experienced a fall from faith as visible and as shocking as his. For a moment, it truly seemed like Kanye was changing. He released Jesus is King, launched his now famous Sunday service gatherings, and openly declared that he had given his life to God. The transformation felt real. He spoke about becoming a better man, a better father, and a different kind of artist. Fans were stunned, but many were hopeful. His performances felt more like worship services than concerts. He claimed he was done with profanity in his music. For a brief window of time, it looked like redemption was underway. Then, slowly, everything began to unravel. Kanye grew increasingly erratic. His social media posts became alarming. His interviews stretched on in rambling monologues filled with confusion and contradiction. And then came the breaking point, anti-Semitic remarks that sent shockwaves around the world. Almost overnight, billion-dollar partnerships collapsed. Adidas cut ties. Platforms distanced themselves. The man who once stood at the peak of music and fashion suddenly found himself isolated. What disturbed people most wasn't just what he said, it was the contradiction. The same man who once preached Jesus now acted in ways that seemed to betray the very faith he claimed to embrace. Fans were left confused and heartbroken. Some believed he was battling serious mental health struggles. Others felt deeply betrayed, especially those who had believed in his spiritual rebirth. Kanye West's story isn't just about fame or controversy, it's about how quickly conviction can crumble and how devastating the fall can be when the entire world is watching. Chris Tucker once said, "The best investment I ever made was trusting God and leaning into my spirituality." And for him, that belief changed everything. At one point, Chris Tucker was one of the funniest and most in-demand actors in Hollywood. After breakout hits like Friday and especially Rush Hour, he became a global superstar almost overnight. His energy was electric, his timing was flawless, and audiences couldn't get enough of him. But then, something unexpected happened. Chris Tucker found religion, and he didn't just dabble in it. He fully committed. He gave his life to God and began taking his faith very seriously. And while there's nothing wrong with that at all, it completely reshaped how he viewed his career. From that moment on, Chris started turning down roles that didn't align with his Christian values. If a script had too much profanity, excessive violence, or anything that didn't feel morally clean, he walked away, no matter how big the paycheck was. He even refused to return for future Friday sequels because he no longer wanted to portray a character who smoked. To Chris, it was a personal victory. To fans, it was confusing. As he stepped back, Hollywood didn't slow down. New actors rose, comedy evolved, and the industry moved on without waiting. While Chris focused on his faith and stayed selective, his once unstoppable momentum quietly faded. By the time he was ready to return more consistently, it felt like his name wasn't being mentioned the way it used to be. He did make a few appearances, small stand-up shows, and a notable role in Silver Linings Playbook, but the larger-than-life superstardom of the early 2000s never fully came back. Chris Tucker chose faith over fame. And while that decision brought him peace, it also marked a turning point that forever changed his place in Hollywood history. Cuba Gooding Jr. was once Hollywood's golden boy. After winning an Academy Award for Jerry Maguire, his rise felt unstoppable, charming, gifted, and embraced by both fans and critics. For a brief, shining moment, he looked destined for lasting greatness. But after that Oscar win, the momentum slipped. He kept working, yet his film choices missed the mark. One forgettable project followed another, and slowly, the promise that once defined him began to fade. People started asking how a star with so much potential could lose his footing so fast. Then came the real collapse, when success turned into scandal. Cuba's name hit headlines not for performances, but for serious allegations. Dozens of women accused him of sexual misconduct in New York nightclubs. As the claims mounted, eventually surpassing 30, the situation spiraled beyond repair. Though he denied some accusations, he ultimately pleaded guilty to one charge, avoiding jail only through counseling and strict legal conditions. Even without prison time, the damage was irreversible. His spotless image shattered. Videos surfaced of erratic behavior, shouting at parties, acting reckless, seemingly out of control. The warm, confident Oscar winner vanished, replaced by someone the public barely recognized. Once respected and trusted, Cuba Gooding Jr. became a cautionary tale. Fame magnified his flaws, and Hollywood, unforgiving as ever, turned its back. The calls stopped, the roles disappeared, and a once celebrated career quietly slipped into obscurity. "Listen, I'ma stab your ass with this fork. Do you hear me?" That fearless, no-filter fire wasn't an act, that was Monique. And it's exactly why people loved her. At her peak, she wasn't just another comedian in Hollywood. She was a force, bold, unapologetic, and brutally honest, commanding the screen every time she showed up. Then came Precious. Devastating. Unforgettable. The performance earned her an Academy Award and proved, beyond doubt, that Monique wasn't just funny, she was a serious actress. But instead of her career exploding after that Oscar, something strange happened. The calls slowed. The offers vanished. And questions started swirling. Monique refused to stay quiet. She spoke out about what she called the ugly truth behind Hollywood's closed doors, accusing powerful figures, Oprah Winfrey, Lee Daniels, and Tyler Perry, of turning their backs on her. She said she was blackballed for refusing to play the game. She wouldn't work for free. She wouldn't bow down. And she wouldn't stay silent about what she believed was unfair treatment, especially as a black woman in the industry. Hollywood doesn't forgive that easily. Soon, the labels followed, difficult, hard to work with. The studios stopped calling. Big-budget roles disappeared. Support existed, but mostly in whispers. Through it all, Monique stood her ground. Anchored by faith, principles, and sheer resolve, she kept speaking, on stage, in interviews, online, refusing to be erased. Years later, she made a slow return to the spotlight. But the damage was done. The industry had moved on, and things were never quite the same. Monique's story isn't just about fame or fallout. It's about what happens when truth collides with power, and the price you pay for refusing to stay silent. Tyrese Gibson. Once known for his smooth voice and soulful image, Tyrese didn't just start as a singer. He began in gospel, wrapped in faith, humility, and spiritual promise. But over time, that image slowly cracked. His biggest downfall wasn't his talent, it was his personal life. Messy divorces turned private pain into public spectacle. Instead of stepping back, Tyrese took everything online. Long, emotional rants. Tears on cam. Vulnerable moments shared without restraint. What felt like honesty to him felt uncomfortable to the public. Then came the viral breakdown, crying over not being able to see his daughter. Some saw a grieving father. Others saw a man unraveling. From that moment on, every post grew more dramatic, leaving fans unsure whether they were witnessing a cry for help or a complete loss of control. Tyrese also lashed out at Hollywood. He called out co-stars, accused the industry of abandoning him, and started public feuds that made him seem bitter and angry. To many, it didn't look like betrayal, it looked like self-destruction. What made it all even more confusing was his constant talk of God and faith. He speaks about healing, growth, and doing the right thing. But when actions don't align with words, belief starts to feel hollow. And slowly, behind all the chaos and controversy, Tyrese's spiritual image faded, lost in the noise of his own making. Tasha Smith. Known for her bold, loud, and unapologetically real characters in Tyler Perry films like Why Did I Get Married?, Tasha Smith built a career on humor, strength, and authenticity. On screen, she was unforgettable. Off-screen, she was just as powerful, a devoted Christian, a motivational speaker, and a woman many admired for her faith and resilience. For a time, it looked like she had it all together. Her career was steady, her voice was uplifting others, and her life seemed grounded in purpose. But everything changed when her personal life unraveled, very publicly. Tasha's marriage exploded into a headline-making disaster. She accused her husband of being a con man who lied about his identity, ultimately having the marriage annulled, legally erased, as if it never existed. In return, he fired back with serious accusations of his own. The truth became blurred, and the drama consumed the narrative. As court battles replaced sermons, the woman once known for faith and inspiration became associated with scandal and emotional turmoil. The spotlight dimmed, and public perception shifted. Fans who once listened for wisdom were now watching for controversy, marking a painful turning point in Tasha Smith's story. Kel Mitchell. What do I want? A rocket ship, a refrigerator magnet, a puppy? That chaotic humor made Kel Mitchell a Nickelodeon legend. As the lovable wild card from Kenan and Kel and Good Burger, he became the face of countless childhood memories. But when the spotlight faded, Kel's life took a dramatic turn. He found religion, embraced faith, and reinvented himself as a pastor. For a while, the story inspired many. Kel openly admitted that fame had warped his mindset and that God helped him rebuild his life. He wrote a book, gave motivational speeches, and flooded social media with Bible verses, preaching redemption and second chances. It looked like he had truly left his reckless past behind. Then the cracks began to show. Kel's ex-wife stepped forward with disturbing allegations, claiming infidelity, emotional abuse, and accusing him of using religion as a mask to control and manipulate others. She said the man people saw in church was nothing like the one behind closed doors. Overnight, Kel's image as a reformed role model shattered. Fans who once admired his transformation began to question whether it was genuine or just another performance. Kel denied the accusations and tried to stay focused on his ministry, but the damage was already done. The media ran with the story, and the conversation shifted from faith and healing to scandal and hypocrisy. And just when you think the fall couldn't get more unsettling, the next former fan favorite proves that this story is far from over. Lisa Bonet became a household name as Denise Huxtable on The Cosby Show, radiating a cool, effortless energy that instantly set her apart. But fame was never her goal. From early on, Lisa chose to walk her own path, embracing mysticism, spirituality, and deeply personal beliefs that didn't fit Hollywood's mold. She spoke about energy, nature, and inner truth, captivating some while making others uncomfortable. Lisa refused to play by the rules. She dressed freely, spoke honestly, and never tried to blend in, and that independence made the industry hesitate. Her boldest move came with Angel Heart, a dark, adult film that shattered her wholesome TV image and sparked major backlash, especially from Bill Cosby. Soon after, her role was reduced, and she was quietly written off the show. Hollywood seemed unsure how to handle someone so unapologetically herself. Rather than chase the spotlight, Lisa chose privacy, stepping back from acting, focusing on motherhood, and staying true to her beliefs. She was never meant to be a typical celebrity, and while that choice slowed her career, it preserved something far more rare: her authenticity. Whoopi Goldberg, a Hollywood legend with a voice no one could ignore. She's an EGOT winner, a cultural icon who lit up the screen in The Color Purple, Sister Act, and countless unforgettable roles. For decades, Whoopi was admired not just for her talent, but for her honesty, wisdom, and fearless humor. She never claimed to be deeply religious, but she spoke often about a higher power and shared thoughtful reflections on life, faith, and human dignity. People listened because she felt real. But in recent years, that image has begun to crack. Much of the controversy centers around The View, the daytime talk show where Whoopi has been a longtime co-host. On the panel, she tackles politics, religion, and social issues head-on. Yet some of her remarks have sparked intense backlash. One of the most damaging moments came when she made comments about the Holocaust that many felt were deeply inaccurate and offensive. Despite issuing an apology, she was suspended from the show for 2 weeks. After that, public perception shifted. Critics began to say she was out of touch, while others felt her tone had grown sharper and more divisive. Additional statements only fueled the debate, leaving fans and viewers divided. Though she still has loyal supporters, many believe the thoughtful, balanced Whoopi they once admired is fading. Over time, her values seem to have changed. She speaks less about spirituality, and when she addresses serious topics, her delivery often feels more dismissive than reflective. For a woman once celebrated as a voice of reason and compassion, the question now lingers: has Whoopi Goldberg lost the very depth that made her a legend? Isaiah Washington was once a breakout star on Grey's Anatomy. As Dr. Preston Burke, he played the brilliant, commanding surgeon fans couldn't take their eyes off. But just as the show was becoming a cultural phenomenon, his career took a sudden and dramatic turn. During the early seasons, Washington became embroiled in controversy after reports surfaced that he had made a homophobic remark toward a co-star. The backlash was swift and intense. Though he initially apologized, he later denied the incident during a high-profile awards press event, fueling even more outrage. The cast, the crew, and the public were stunned. In the end, the producers made a decisive move. Isaiah Washington was written out of the show. Losing a leading role on one of television's biggest series was a devastating blow to his career. After his exit, Washington didn't fade quietly into the background. Instead, he openly criticized Hollywood, claiming he was pushed out for not aligning with what he called its liberal agenda. He argued that his Christian beliefs and identity as a black man were the real reasons he was blackballed. But to many, it sounded less like persecution and more like a refusal to take accountability. Since then, he's appeared in smaller film and TV roles, never regaining the fame he once had. Over time, Isaiah Washington became better known for his outspoken opinions and online controversies than for the acting career that once promised so much. Gary Dourdan. I learned to respect the ferocity of the bull in a bullfight. The matador doesn't face the bull head-on. He cuts it down, strike by strike, until the bull no longer has the will to fight. For years, Gary Dourdan embodied that quiet strength on screen. As Warwick Brown on CSI, crime scene investigation, he became one of television's most beloved characters, calm, cool, and effortlessly commanding. At his peak, it looked like he had everything: fame, talent, and a powerful public image. Then, almost suddenly, it all began to fall apart. After leaving CSI, Gary's life took a dark turn. Multiple arrests for drug possession revealed a painful struggle with addiction. Each headline shifted the spotlight away from his acting and onto his personal demons. Fans who once admired him were left stunned by the transformation. The troubles didn't stop there. Allegations of domestic violence and legal disputes further damaged his reputation, making studios hesitant to work with him. Hollywood moved on, and the roles and respect he once enjoyed slowly disappeared. Financial collapse followed. Gary filed for bankruptcy, a stark reminder of how unstable his life had become. The man who once walked red carpets and dominated primetime television now found himself facing courtrooms and mugshots instead. A heartbreaking downfall, one that shocked the world. So, which story shocked you the most? Drop a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next story.